Are you tired of cloudy water ruining your aquarium? Don't worry, I've been there too. But good news, we're going to go through and show you how it's not complicated to go through and create crystal clear water. I'm going to break down the 5 easy, beginner friendly aquarium tips on how you can create crystal clear, spotless water in your aquarium. The number one reason is not enough filter maintenance. It's definitely overlooked when you're a beginner in the hobby, and it creates low flow in your aquarium, and also it goes through and creates that murky water that you have. So it is really optimal that you're going through and cleaning out your filters. Your hang on back filters, typically you're going to remove and clean that filter floss that's in there about every 2 weeks. Now your canister filters are a little bit longer. I wait about 4 weeks to about 6 weeks before I go through and clean out my canister filter. But if you're having consistent murky water or cloudy water, that's probably due to overcrowding in your aquarium, and you need to change out your filter more often. So that is number one, making sure you're doing consistent filter maintenance, creating more flow in that aquarium and picking up all of the debris that's happening within that aquarium life. But make sure whenever you're cleaning that filter or hang on back filter or canister filter, you're not using tap water to clean any of it out. That's going to reduce the beneficial bacteria in that canister filter or hang on back filter. Make sure you're using the water that's from the aquarium. Maybe you did a water change and you have some leftover, or for a canister filter, you can use the water that's in the canister filter as well. You want to make sure you keep as much beneficial bacteria as possible. So let's move on to number two. Next one is overfeeding. This consistently happens as a beginner because all of your inhabitants will eat no matter what. They keep going to the top. It seems like they're hungry, but that's typically not the case. You want to make sure you're feeding in smaller amounts. You can feed more in smaller amounts if you're worried about that. But typically, I feed once a day for all of my inhabitants. I have automatic fish feeders, which make it a lot easier on my hands. And then for your shrimp, because that's what I prize myself on, is shrimp in here. Is typically I feed those once every week, some type of add-in into the water or pellets that I'm going through and feeding those shrimp. Now, I'm not feeding them too much. You don't want to leave any of that. I'm typically allowing them to eat for about 6 hours and then taking out that pellet if they didn't consume it all. So again, not a large amount of pellets for your shrimp, just enough for them to feed. Take them out if anything's left over. You'll find that sweet spot. And the reason why you don't want to overfeed is because it goes through and creates excess ammonia spikes in your aquarium that can create algae blooms, creating not that clear water that you have, sometimes creating that more green, denser water that you're having in your aquarium. So let's stop overfeeding. All right, so let's move on to number three. And here's a beginner's secret for number three. It is doing more consistent water changes. So typically what you want to do is do water changes every 2 weeks, about 10 to 20%. That way you're not having to do larger monthly water changes in your aquariums. Now it is a little bit different if you have shrimp. I'm typically doing way less, but again, if you're not keeping prize caridina shrimp, you can get away with doing that weekly 10 to 20% water change. It just helps reduce any of that matter that's been building up in the aquarium, and you're pulling all of that out and introducing brand new water. Now, again, make sure you're not going straight tap water into your aquarium. Do whatever guide you need to add your specific water for that specific aquarium that you're going through and doing. But let's up some water changes in those aquariums and help bring out all of that debris in that aquarium, creating a more crystal clear aquarium for you. It also reduces the large shifts in parameters that happen when you leave water in there too long. Essentially what will happen is you'll have some spikes because you have a lot of debris buildup in that aquarium. So it's really good to do water changes as much as possible. Now, not every day, don't go in every day. What I'm saying is 1 to 2 weeks, do about 10 to 20% water changes on your aquariums. These aquariums here, this one's getting one every 3 weeks. This one's getting one every 2 weeks. This one is also getting one every 2 weeks as well. I'm pulling out about 10 to 20% of the water. I'm vacuuming, not the gravel itself, but just any debris that's on the sand and I'm not disturbing the sand because it's breaking down matter through there to create a nice environment for my rooted plants. But enough about that. Let's hop on to number 4. Now, number 4 is one of my favorites. It is my secret to your canister or hang on back filter that everyone should be using. Number 1 is polishing pads or your microfiber pads that you have or polyfiber. Basically what this is it's super thin mesh of polyfiber, and it's creating a more denser area to grab more finer debris. This is definitely a hack if you don't have any of these small fiber pads in your canister filter. You're definitely going to see a lot of debris because it's not being captured in your filter. Now I get these large pads and I just cut them to size for my hang on back filters. That's all that goes into these. And I only have those on 2 of my tanks now. Everything else is canister. Otherwise, you can see one of my canister setup guides here to go through and show you how I do these within my canister filter. The other one is going to be your Purigen. This is the best hack I've had so far for creating that next level clarity in your aquarium. Now, Purigen binds to anything that's in your aquarium, especially tannins and small debris itself. So it's going to bind to it. Now, if you're one of those folks that has more of a dark water type of aquarium that loves having tannins in there, by all means, don't use it. I don't. So that's why I use Purigen. So if you're going to go through and ask a question about that, that's why I use it, because I don't have dark water in any of my aquariums, and I'm not trying to maintain a high tannin count in my aquariums either. So I'm using that Purigen to create that next level clarity. So that's a little hack for all of you. Make sure you do wash your Purigen before you put it in the canister filter. I haven't used it in hang on back filters before. I've just used the polishing pads. But again, definitely make sure you rinse it. Now let's move on to number 5. Now this one is definitely if you're in the state, your aquarium has been set up and you're about a week in, because I do recommend using products for first starting up your aquarium. But anything after that, avoid the quick hacks, clear water that you can go through and add from a product level. Nothing is going to do what you need to do in order to make sure your aquarium's in balance. This is just going to be a quick fix. It's probably going to damage some of your life and some of your plants in your aquarium, and it's not going to solve the root of the problem. The last 4 are probably going to solve the root of your problem. It's going to clear up by itself after that. Now, what I do use whenever I'm starting an aquarium, because there's debris in the aquarium from the sand, from the rocks, from the wood, I will use AquaClear just for the start so that it pulls out a crystal clear water to get you launched at a good point. It's going to bind to the smaller particles in that aquarium, and specifically because it didn't have an original problem. It was all debris from the sand or from the hardscape or from the wood, and needed to bind to that, get into the filter, stay there until I did my filter change in about 4 to 6 weeks. That's when I needed it. Now, if you're doing it in the middle, like 2 weeks in and so on and so forth, that's because you have a problem in how you're maintaining your aquarium. And those past 4 ones were probably the main cause to some of those issues. So definitely avoid these quick hacks, additives that are going to fix your aquarium and make things clear. I definitely do not recommend looking for those as solving your problems. The last 4 were probably the ones that actually caused the issue in the original part. That's what you should be going through and solving first, and that will solve all of your clear water problems or cloudy water problems to create clear water. All right, so let's recap. What did we go through and do? We talked about going through and doing regular filter maintenance. We went and talked about feeding less. We also talked about weekly 10 to 20% water changes. We also talked about polishing pads, right? So your micro polyfiber pads. Then we also talked about Purigen, which is my little tip secret. And then we also went through and said avoid adding any chemicals, except AquaClear when you're just starting your aquarium. That's the caveat there. So those were our 5 easy steps to creating crystal clear water. Hopefully you found this video helpful, and I would love to hear from you and what problems you're currently having in your startup of your aquarium, or in the middle of your aquarium life, or towards, a year out. If you're still having issues, please comment below. I'd love to help you out. And anyone else, what secrets do you have for creating crystal clear water in your aquariums? But enough about that. Check out my latest 7 secret to going through and beginner secrets of creating a wonderful aquarium. And enough about that. Until next time, I'll see you all on the next video.